Greetings everyone, welcome to my sketchbook. Hey, you know what? I think it'd be kind of fun to do another Sketchbook Goose, that's part of a tribute to the Porch Geese or what have you that people enjoy setting up. So I'm going to tilt this screen thing here, well the base, the pedestal thing that I use to draw on. I already opened this box. I'm going to build this Lego figure, which is taken from Into the Spider-Verse, or Across the Spider-Verse, sorry, which is a pretty cool thing, and the animations are fantastic. I'm going to just assemble this. I think this one's pretty cool. It has probably the smallest, if that'll even focus on it, the smallest Lego minifigures I've ever seen. Now they're supposed to be kind of like a hologram. This is Miguel O'Hara. This is Spider-Man 2099. So he's from the future. We're going to, do I want that face or do I want this face? We'll go with this one instead. Let's put the hair on. Look at that, beauteous. And oh, you know what? I should have put this on. His cape, sort of a digital holographic kind of thing that is. Cool. We'll load this on here. Put him on his base. We'll move him over just a little bit, and we'll put his mask beside him. So, the reason why I opened that up and how it will relate to this is I want you to imagine that a goose could be kind of like a spider creature. So if you see in this sort of pile of different minifigures, there are some animals here that have the cool mask on it. And so that's what I'm going to do with the goose. I'll put this other stuff back inside here. I'm going to set Miguel here off to one side next to the Spider-Mobile, I guess. Let's tilt this. Let's open up the inkwell. Let's grab the sketchbook pen. And we're going to try to draw a costume or whatnot. Now, I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in just a little bit. You can kind of see it very faintly. I can probably see it a little bit better. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a rough outline of sorts, and then from there add the detail that I want. So now remember, we're making kind of like paper dolls of sorts with our sketchbook geese. We're going to rough in a couple of things here. These are the legs. And I just want rough shapes. Let's see. The tail. Should the tail be sticking out of the costume? Perhaps we'll let the scissors tell that story. So I've sort of scratched this very lightly because I'm going to add my own details to it anyway. You know what? I'm going to close off the mask here. And with the eye, I'm going to have it go kind of here. Yes. All right, that gives me a rough idea of what I want. I'm going to bring out this backing sheet that I do with my ink drawings to protect the goose as much as I can. I have the ink well, so let's get started on adding some detail of a Spider-Goose. Okay. I'm going to do kind of an outline of it and then maybe figure out if there's going to be some poses or something like that. You know what? We're going to need kind of a shoulder here, I think. And maybe oh, you know, the idea that I have in my head is a roll of newspaper. Perhaps we can line our bird cage with it. Although geese don't really live in the same sort of things, I guess, but this is just for fun. Okay. What else do we need here? Well, if we have a shoulder here, we have another shoulder, let's say, right about there. And I wonder what the deal was when they sat down. Is it Steve Ditko and Stan Lee when they came up with the idea for Spider-Man? Why they needed to have this as a means by which to fire the web. It seems interesting. Okay, well, that's not so bad where that is. Dip the pen here. You know what? Before I get into using more ink, I'm going to set this pen down for a moment, I think. And I'm going to introduce some color because we have to be crafty. Okay, we'll have this right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of swirl color in because my idea will be to use some water. This is water soluble, this particular marker. You can use it a little bit like watercolor, but not perfectly. And it'll help with some of the swirling that's kind of happening on this piece of copier paper. Now, I want to keep certain things red and other things I'll make blue. Now, tail feather wise, just trying to think of something. Keep the belt-like pose thing here, kind of above that tail feather. And shoulder, yes. And going down the back of the arm. So I don't have to be super precise with this because I'm going to let the marker get a chance to spread out a little bit with the water and brush. I'm doing red first with this costume, and we'll put in some of the detail after. Just swirly, swirly, swirlies. Now, let's go roughly to here, let's say. And kind of the same on this side, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap for where the other shoe will sit. So those are the main colors for red to start. And just trying to think of what else do I need with that. Well, of course, we're going to have blue. I wonder if this will be kind of too purpley. You know what, I'm going to use it anyway. This I'm going to go with slightly more up and down. I'll leave a little spot there because I think I want that other shoulder to be red. Let's do that. This part of the arm, oh, again, let's try up and down. All the way through the armpit. This part of the belly. The sides towards the back. That's exciting. Let's go to the tail feathers. I'm going to go with kind of a quick blue outline. Then sort of an up and down thing. Another outline, which is what I should have done with the rest of that in keeping. Anyway, again, we don't have to be super precise. So yes, if you have been making your own version of a Sketchbook Goose, what outfits have you made? What outfits would you like to see me make? You know, fun stuff. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out, this is a cup with some water in it. I have my #1 detailing brush, which is a fantastic thing. Just going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to start with red because that's where I'm going to add detail in after the fact. But I'm going to start here in the head. And doing this, I might even get to bring in some of the ink, which is also water soluble, from the outside edge. It'll almost kind of dirty texture what I'm doing. It gets rid of some of the lighter missed opportunity scribbles, if you know what I mean. Being sort of liberal with the water. Hey, if you had the opportunity to check out some of the other videos as part of this, well, there was two others. There's the Origin, which is the drawing of the Porch Goose or Sketchbook Goose alone. And then the follow-up, part 2, was the Severus Snape Goose outfit. And now, of course, Spider-Goose, perhaps from the Spider-Verse. It's okay if I hit the edges a little bit. The plan, of course, is to cut this out. So if it goes outside the lines, that is okay. We will not be keeping that anyway. As you can see, it kind of gets a little blurry looking, and I'm avoiding hitting the blue where I can, because blue and this red will kind of make a strange purple. It's already kind of purpley, honestly enough, so I'm going to try to avoid that a little bit. It's okay if I bring out some of the black ink, though, in my mind. Now, geese are funny creatures, and I think this trend is very strange. Sometime back in the 90s, and I might have talked about this before, maybe late 80s, early 90s, people used geese to decorate their homes. And it was fun, because you could go to someone's kitchen and they had a cookie jar, which I don't even know if people use cookie jars anymore, do they? Maybe. You know, you just keep the original packaging and just use that until the cookies are gone. Because otherwise, you get used to seeing the cookie jar, and if there's no cookies in it, then it's a bit of a letdown. An empty cookie jar is one of the worst things. Moving this up a little bit, I'm going to take care of this waistband in this Spidey suit. I've drawn a few pictures of ducks on my channel here. You can go search that stuff out. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to. By no means do you have to turn on notifications, because sometimes I will have a whole bunch of drawings in the run of a week, and you don't want to have that little bell go off all the time. I mean, sometimes I wake up early in the morning and I'll have a picture, and there's no need of you being woken up with notifications. I know that's not really how it works, but you know, that little red dot shows up and says, hey, this person you subscribe to has a new video. Well, you don't have to turn on the notifications. Just check back every once in a while and see what I'm up to. It's really that simple. The fun thing about the internet is you're in control of all that kind of stuff. And right now, I mean, listen, I've taken about 19 minutes to get to this point in the video. You can fast forward if you feel like it. You know, you can come back to this spot tomorrow. You know, if you only have a few minutes to sort of play around, you don't have to do this all at once the way I'm doing it. I do this stuff in real time. I don't edit for mistakes, so you'll see me make mistakes. And I'm fine with making mistakes, because that's how it happens in real life. And it's okay to edit. That's not my thing. My goal with this channel is to just show that mistakes can happen, and it's not the worst thing in the world. If you're playing around in your sketchbook, well, then it's all right. If you're being paid to do something and you're not supposed to have mistakes, well, then don't make those mistakes known, I guess. But honestly, in your sketchbook, if it gets a little messy, a little bit blurry. That's the fun stuff. And then you have to try to figure out a way to correct that. This is taking a little bit longer than normal. It's okay. You know, I could have just made these solid colors if I really wanted to. This type of paper, copy paper, which is a lot brighter than what I typically use for my sketching. It's also a different weight of paper, so it's a little thicker the way that it's bound together, like tighter sort of bonds of the pulp. The paper that I usually use, it's a little looser, kind of a little more coarse as well. It takes ink a little bit differently. I don't usually like to draw on copy paper, but the ink doesn't really spread out. So it's kind of meant for that thermal printing as well, or laser printing. So it's not really meant to run. Doesn't matter. I'm just rambling on. So there you go. That's the blurring that I did. This stuff up here should be reasonably dry by comparison to what I just finished there. I'm going to clean this brush in the water. I'm going to set the water down on the floor. And now we add detail. Okay. I have the pen. I have to be careful with it because I dip this pen in ink, and sometimes it'll just blob out. That's going to be the eye of our Spider-Goose. We're going to need a focal point of sorts. Let's say right about here, rather than down below. We're going to have a spot come up through here. One through here. A little bit of shading kind of stuff going on there just for fun. Okay, now just while we're here, we're going to add a little bit of the webbing because we're silly gooses. Huh? Yeah. Ridiculous, I know. Now, sometimes I might accidentally refer to geese as ducks. They are waterfowls, I guess. I don't know if it's fair to refer to them as ducks, though. Perhaps we'll just leave them as waterfowls. Let's go with a split there. Maybe in the pinky and that side there. A little bit along there. Yahoo! a slight amount of detail. And I'm going to pretend that there's some webbing going on, but really, we don't really have to have webbing on these apparatus the same way. Now, if I would have put a lot of detail in it first and then I did the brush and water thing, of course, most of that would be kind of eliminated with the brush and water thing. So I avoided that where I could. Ooh, let's do a slight split there. This is the other part of the arm. Add some shadow, some shading there of the armpit, the wing pit. Wing pit. I don't know if that's the first time I've ever said that in my life. Wing pit. Okay. Shame on me if that's never been said before by me. How do I want to do this part? That's the hand. We'll go like this. Kind of a fun thing. Try to think about this stuff. Now the newspaper there. I don't really have lots of room to put in, like, Daily Bugle, but I could have like the last part of Bugle there, or the last part of, like, I could have, LY, and then I could figure out something. We'll see what happens. And try to make it look like newsprint if I need to. A little bit of shade under here, although it's dark blue, so we don't have to really work that hard at that. Okay. You know what we need now? We gotta put on the Spider-Man symbol. Well, we'll just kind of do a side kind of profile-y thing. Something like that. And then the lower set. Okay. Well, let's try to work some of this bonus webbing in this as well. I don't want to take over too much of the symbol. Okay. Let's split this. That's fun. A little bit here now. Again, it's okay if we overlap the lines because, well, we are going to be cracking out some scissors. Let's make this a little more stylish boot at the top. A slight toe there, maybe a slight toe there too. Where only you and I know we have webbed feet. Webbed feet! Ha 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 ha! Let's speed this up a little bit. Webbed feet. Take it easy. Okay. I don't know if being Spider-Man is that great. I think he's probably amongst the most sort of but not really relatable characters. The problem with Spider-Man is he's not really able to live a normal life. So it's kind of a tormented existence, I think. You know, he does his best to hold down a job so that he can kind of have a regular kind of life, but honestly, he doesn't really get to have a regular life. He fights some of the most powerful criminals in New York, and that can't be easy. Let's see here. Just going to kind of back that out a little bit. Get an overall sort of look of what we got going on. I'm going to add just a little bit of an outline in certain areas, and then we're going to crack out the scissors, and we're going to cut this out. Now, the idea that I have, which I may do at some point, is if I get some sort of like cereal box cardboard, would be to glue these onto that, and it'll keep a little bit more, you know, of that rigid pose. So for example, I'm going to leave some of this paper here, possibly, just so that it adds a little bit of strength to what would normally be a very flimsy part of the drawing. So I think by putting it on something that would allow that strength to exist would just be so much better. Now, I still haven't really decided on what I want to do with this newspaper. It probably would have been slightly better to have a camera. Maybe? All right. Now it's time to cut this out. And we're 34 minutes in. That really took some time. Let us do a close cut, and we'll be able to use this other piece of paper in our next bit of drawing. And let us try to cut this out without cutting away too much. A little bit around that elbow. So exciting. If you're not good at cutting things out, you could ask someone to give you a hand. And if they clap, it's time to get better friends. Unless you think that's funny, then you're okay with that. If that's like, you know, just someone's way of not actually helping you and they just clap, well, I don't think that's really that funny. If they clap and give you a hand after, well, then they're probably a good friend, so that's okay. Hold on to that person. It's sort of like those teachers that, you know, you ask if you can go to the bathroom, and they then reply with, "Can you go to the bathroom? Do you know how to go to the bathroom?" Anyway, I don't really think that's that funny when you're dancing in your chair. It's like, it almost makes you want to reply with, "I hope you don't mind if I use the garbage can over there, because I don't know if I can make it now with all this laughter." I am going to go straight across to the next set of fingers here, like that. And then I'm going to round out this side here, and same sort of thing. Just because I want to keep some of that ability, like I said, for the rigidity part. Or, you know, if I'm not going to glue it onto cardboard, then maybe I will use packing tape and kind of like do a version of a lamination, which could work very well as well, because it'll also protect it from moisture. So that might be a decent thing to do. All right. So geese make a honking sound, I guess, like a truck or an old-fashioned car or one of those squeeze ball things that you might put on your bicycle, I guess. A horn. Jumpins. We're really taking our time with this at 37 minutes. Mind you, we did take a little bit of time to play with some Lego, so it's not the worst thing. Hey, thanks for subscribing, by the way, and thanks for checking out some of the long-form videos and sending me a message once in a while of stuff that you'd like to see, or stuff that you've seen and you just want to say, hey, that's kind of fun, or whatever. I'm going to do a little bit of back bending here, bending it backwards so that hopefully it'll kind of reverse some of the curl of the cutting and the wetting. Okay, I'll move this piece of scrap a while. Okay, well, let's see what happens anyway. I have this backing paper that I'm going to put back behind here. Ready to try it on? Here we go. It is beautiful. That is our Spider-Goose. And let's see if there's just a little bit more things that I can do with this. A little bit of darkness there. I can do a little bit here. Not too frantic. I don't want to have it drift to the underside. Let's try to fix some of this curve here. I like it. I think that's a fun little project. I'm going to add a little bit to the shoulder here. Okay. Well, folks, I think that's going to be it. Thanks for hanging out for a minute or so. You can let me know in the comments what other sorts of fun sketchbook geese. Yeah, that'd be nice if that just stayed there a little bit better because, you know what? Let me try something here. Well, that's kind of funny. I mean, Spider-Man does hang out on ceilings. Okay. Hilarious. Folks, I do believe that will be it. I think going too much further than that just adds unnecessary embellishments, which we don't need. Which is what I'm doing at the moment. Cool beans. All right, well, you can check out the previous video if you like. You can subscribe up here. All right, folks, have a great day. Ciao for now.